Hello, my name is Nathaniel Pickering and welcome to this video on Theory of Change and Introduction. The intention of this video is to outline what a theory of change is, why having one is important for your program of change, and also describe some of the key elements that are contained within a theory of change. And finally, we'll discuss how you might think about measuring the success of your program. What is a theory of change? On this slide are three definitions that all differ slightly in their level of detail. Maybe you could pause the video here and read these definitions and reflect on what you think they mean. I think the most useful one is from the Centre for Theory of Change. A theory of change is essentially a comprehensive description and illustration of how and why a described change is expected to happen in a particular context. It is focused on mapping out or filling in what has been described as the missing middle between what a program or change initiative does and how these lead to the desired goals being achieved. It does this first by identifying the desired long-term goals and then works back from those to identify all the conditions that must be in place for the goals to occur. Theory of change and logic model are terms that are often used interchangeably. However, there are differences. A logic model can be used to illustrate elements of your theory of change, such as a workshop where you want to clearly identify inputs, activities, and outcomes. However, a logic model does not necessarily show how and why the desired change is expected to come about. For this, you would need a theory of change that justifies at each step why something will cause something else. Having a theory of change in place has many benefits. Not only does it provide a clear plan for your project, but also helps organizations meet their strategic aims through providing a shared understanding of those aims and objectives amongst teams. It also helps improve effectiveness and identify any hidden challenges. It also helps you formulate how you will identify and measure impact, and highlights what evidence you will need to demonstrate the change you have made. It allows you to communicate aims clearly and quickly across key stakeholders, which in turn improves partnership working. A theory of change often takes a visual form, such as the diagrams shown here. These diagrams range from the very simple to the very complicated and can take many forms. However, along with your visual representation, you should also have a narrative version that outlines in further detail what you are doing and the changes you want to happen. Both the visual and narrative are crucial for communicating what it is your program is going to do and why. While a theory of change can take many forms, it should always contain some key elements. You should start a theory of change at the end by stating what your final goal is. What is it you want to achieve or change? Next, you need to consider what the short-term and intermediate outcomes are and how these will help you achieve your final goal. For example, if you wanted to improve undergraduate retention, the intermediate outcome might be to increase student engagement in research activities that develop a strong academic community. Outcomes should be supported by evidence, and also you should clearly state what assumptions you are making about the change process. For example, creating a strong academic community assumes that a sense of belonging will increase retention. Can you find evidence that supports or discredits this assumption? Next, you might think about the outputs of your program. What products, services, or facilities are going to result from your activities? Also, how many participants will you have, and how much contact will they receive during the program? This aligns closely with inputs, or the resources that will go into the program, and the activities you plan to undertake that will support you achieving your outcomes and goals. You might also want to consider what you need for the program to be successful. What are the enablers, and are these internal or external to your organization? Creating a theory of change is not a linear process, and you should continually move back and forth between the different stages. While a picture is worth 1,000 words, a robust theory of change is more than a picture. The visual diagram of the program should be accompanied by an introduction that discusses the inception of the program and provide an analysis of the context and situation the program exists in. So you might describe the purpose and function of the team or organization to which you belong. You should also provide a narrative of your theory of change that explains why you expect the change to happen that you have identified. This could be linked to existing evidence or scholarly literature. It might also be linked to your own experience gained through your role. Finally, you should outline your plans for measurement and evaluation that have arisen from your theory of change. As noted on the last slide, you also need to make plans for measuring impact and testing the causal links identified in your theory of change. Building an effective measurement framework relies on several key components that need to work together. First, you need a solid framework, which requires good leadership and buy-in from senior staff who understand the value of impact measurement, the investment of time and energy and skills this needs. This foundation then supports 4 pillars or steps that will lead to a robust measurement framework. A theory of change, which we have already discussed in detail. Secondly, you need to prioritize what you measure. You cannot measure everything, so what is the most important and why? And you need to consider if the data already exists in your organization, or do you need to create new data sources? Also, has someone already proved a causal link for your outcomes in the literature? Third, choose the level of evidence you need. This is discussed extensively in our videos Evidence and Impact Parts 1 and 2 on our blog. Finally, select your sources and tools for data collection. You will need to think about who you need to collect data from, what type of data you should collect, and when you should collect that data. A theory of change is not a linear process and should be continually refined and adjusted as new evidence emerges. This cycle is key to your program being responsive and having as much impact as possible. Ideally, your intervention has started with a developed theory of change. Then, as you are implementing your program, you should also be evaluating your impact and the accuracy of your theory. As you do this, you should develop new understandings. These should be used to develop your theory of change further. Your theory of change should be a living thing that changes according to emerging evidence and experience. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Please watch the 2 accompanying videos on theory of change and use the resources provided to develop your own theory of change. Thank you very much.